Good evening. Welcome back to the second class based on the first short story of English course book 10th standard. It is a continuation of the first class taken by myself in the last week. And I should have used my Malayalam 10 for the students who are studying in the Malayalam medium while rewinding the portions. See, പത്താന്തരത്തിലെ യൂണിറ്റ് 1-ൽ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ള ആദ്യ കഥയായ റസ്കിൻ ബോണ്ട് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഇന്ത്യക്കാരനായ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് എഴുത്തുകാരൻ എഴുതിയ അഡ്വഞ്ചേഴ്സ് ഇൻ എ ബനിയൻ ട്രീ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന കഥയിലെ ആദ്യത്തെ 4 പാരഗ്രാഫാണ് കഴിഞ്ഞ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ നാം കൈകാര്യം ചെയ്തത്. അതിനുശേഷമുള്ള ഇറ്റ് വാസ് എ ബാറ്റിൽ ഓഫ് ചാമ്പ്യൻസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന അതുവരെയുള്ള പാഠഭാഗമാണ് ഇന്ന് ഞാൻ എടുക്കുന്നത്. നമുക്കെല്ലാം പ്രകൃതിയെക്കുറിച്ചും പ്രകൃതിയുടെ വിഭവങ്ങളെക്കുറിച്ചും പ്രകൃതി കാത്തു സൂക്ഷിക്കേണ്ടതിൻ്റെ ആവശ്യകതയെക്കുറിച്ചുമാണ് ഈ അധ്യായം ഉത്ബോധിപ്പിക്കുന്നത്. നമുക്കെല്ലാവർക്കും അറിയാം, ഈ പ്രകൃതിയില്ലെങ്കിൽ നാം ഇല്ല. ജീവിതം ദുസ്സഹമായിരിക്കും പ്രകൃതിയില്ലെങ്കിൽ. ഈ ലോകത്തിലെ സകല ചരാചരങ്ങളും ഈ പ്രകൃതിയെ ആശ്രയിച്ചാണ് ജീവിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ പ്രകൃതിയെ കാത്തു സൂക്ഷിക്കേണ്ടതിൻ്റെ ആവശ്യകതയെക്കുറിച്ച് നമ്മോട് സംവദിക്കുന്ന ഏറ്റവും രസകരമായ ഒരു കഥയാണ് അഡ്വഞ്ചേഴ്സ് ഇൻ എ ബനിയൻ ട്രീ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന കഥ. ഈ കഥയിലെ ആദ്യ 4 പാരഗ്രാഫിൽ നാം കണ്ട പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട കഥാപാത്രങ്ങളെ നമുക്കൊന്ന് വിശകലനം ചെയ്യാം. ഒന്നാമത്തത് ഗ്രാൻഡ് ഫാദറാണ്, 2 ഗ്രാൻഡ്മയാണ്, മൂന്നാമത്തത് നിങ്ങളെപ്പോലെ ഒരു ആൺകുട്ടിയാണ്, നാലാമത്തത് ആ ആൺകുട്ടിയുടെ സുഹൃത്തായി ആൽമരത്തിൽ ചേക്കേറിയിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്ന ഒരു അണ്ണാറക്കണ്ണനാണ്. ഇങ്ങനെ 4 കഥാപാത്രങ്ങളെക്കുറിച്ചാണ് നാം ആ 4 പാരഗ്രാഫിൽ കണ്ടത്. ആ പാരഗ്രാഫിൽ കണ്ട 4 പാരഗ്രാഫിലെ ആദ്യ ഭാഗത്ത് ആ കുട്ടിയുടെ ഗ്രാൻഡ് ഫാദറിനെ കുറിച്ച്, തൻ്റെ മുത്തശ്ശനെക്കുറിച്ച്, തൻ്റെ മുത്തശ്ശിയെക്കുറിച്ച് പറയുന്നുണ്ട്. 65 വയസ്സായ മുത്തശ്ശൻ സദാസമയവും വീടിനകത്ത് താമസിക്കാൻ ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്ന മുത്തശ്ശനായിരുന്നു. ഒരിക്കലും പുറത്തേക്ക് പോയിരുന്നില്ല. നമ്മുടെയൊക്കെ വീടുകളിലെ പ്രായമായ ആളുകൾ എപ്പോഴും കഴിയാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നത് വീടിനകത്തളങ്ങളിലായിരിക്കും. അതുപോലെ ആ മുത്തശ്ശനും ആ വീടിനകത്തായിരുന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞിരുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ മുത്തശ്ശി ഏത് സമയവും മുത്തശ്ശനെ കളിയാക്കുമായിരുന്നു. ഈ 117ാമത്തെ വയസ്സിൽ മരണമടഞ്ഞ ഒരു രാജകുമാരിയെക്കുറിച്ച് കളിയാക്കിക്കൊണ്ട് ആ മുത്തശ്ശനെ കളിയാക്കുന്ന പതിവുണ്ടായിരുന്നു മുത്തശ്ശിക്ക്. കൂടാതെ ഈ വീടിന് പുറത്ത് അവരിറങ്ങിയിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. വീടിന് പുറത്തായിരുന്നു ആ ആൺകുട്ടിയുടെ, നിങ്ങളെപ്പോലെയുള്ള ആ ആൺകുട്ടിയുടെ സഹവാസം എപ്പോഴും. തൊട്ടടുത്തായി വീടിൻ്റെ പറമ്പിൽ തൊട്ടടുത്തായി നിലനിൽക്കുന്ന ഒരു ആൽമരത്തിൽ സദാസമയവും വായനയ്ക്ക് വേണ്ടിയും അതോടൊപ്പം കൗതുകകരമായ ഈ മനോഹരമായ പ്രകൃതി ആസ്വദിക്കുന്നതിനു വേണ്ടിയും ആ ആൺകുട്ടി എല്ലാ സമയവും ആ ആൽമര ചുവട്ടിലെത്തുമായിരുന്നു. ആൽമരത്തിൽ ഒരു ദിവസം ഇരുന്നു കൊണ്ടിരുന്ന സമയത്ത് അവനൊരു സുഹൃത്തിനെ കിട്ടുകയാണ്. ആ സുഹൃത്താണ് ഒരു ചെറിയ അണ്ണാറക്കണ്ണൻ. താൻ ഒരു എയർ ഗണ്ണ് കൊണ്ടോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ തെറ്റാലി കൊണ്ടോ ആ അണ്ണാറക്കണ്ണനെ ഉപദ്രവിക്കില്ല എന്ന് അണ്ണാറക്കണ്ണന് മനസ്സിലായപ്പോൾ ആ കുട്ടിയുമായി സൗഹൃദം സ്ഥാപിക്കുകയാണ്. അതോടൊപ്പം ആ ആൽമരം വസന്തകാലത്ത് എല്ലാ വിധത്തിലുള്ള ഈ മൃഗങ്ങളുടെയും പക്ഷികളുടെയും സഹവാസ കേന്ദ്രമായിരുന്നു. അത് ഒരു ലോഡ്ജ് പോലെയാണ് എന്നാണ് നമ്മൾ കണ്ടത്. ഇറ്റ് വാസ് എ ബിസിയസ്റ്റ് പ്ലേസ് ഓൺ ദ റോഡ് ഇൻ ദ സ്പ്രിംഗ് സീസൺ. വൈ? ബിക്കോസ് ദർ were a lot of fruits, figs in it. So up to that we have already completed. And in the last class I gave you two important home assignment. And the first one is, the boy got a very good friend in the banyan tree, which was a squirrel. And I told you, the boy decided to write a letter to his friend telling about the squirrel, his new friend. And what will be the likely letter? I told you to show me personally the thing which I have given to you when the school reopens. And if there arise any difficulties, you can call me straight or to the English teachers who are concerned. Okay. So the second task which I have already given to you, to write his diary in which he got a new friend, the day in which he got a new friend. I hope all of you have done that. Now let's go straight into the next part of the story, and the halfway up the tree, from there to it was a battle of champions. I do want to read the first paragraphs. Please listen, and from here we have to start. See, halfway up the tree, I had built a small platform on which I would often spend the afternoons when it wasn't too hot. I could read there, propping myself against the bole of the tree, with cushions taken from the drawing room, Treasure Island, Huckleberry Finn, the Mowgli stories, and the novels of Edgar Rice Burroughs and Louis May Alcott. So these are Louis May Alcott made up my bag of very mixed reading. When I did not feel like reading, I could look down through the banyan leaves at the world below, at grandfather hanging up or taking down the washing, at the cook quarreling with a fruit vendor, or at grandfather grumbling at the hardy Indian marigolds which insisted on springing up all over his very English garden. Usually nothing very exciting happened while I was in the banyan tree, but on one particular afternoon I had enough excitement to last me through the summer. Then that was the time I saw a mongoose and a cobra fight to death in the garden, while I sat directly above them in the banyan tree. It was an April afternoon, and the warm breezes of approaching summer had sent everyone, including grandfather, indoors. I was feeling drowsy myself and was wondering if I should go to the pond behind the house for a swim, when I was a huge black cobra gliding out of a clump of cactus and making for some cooler part of the garden. At the same time, a mongoose, whom I had often seen, emerged from the bushes and went straight for the cobra. In a clearing beneath the tree, the bright sunshine, they came face to face. Cobra knew only too well that the grey mongoose, 3 feet long, was a superb fighter, clever and aggressive. But the cobra was skillful and experienced fighter too. He could move swiftly and strike with the speed of light, and the sacs behind his long, sharp fangs were full of deadly venom. It was to be a battle of champions. Hissing defiance, his forked tongue darting in and out, the cobra raised 3 of his 6 feet of the ground and spread his broad spectacled hood. Then mongoose bushed his tail. The long hair on his spine stood up in the past. The very thickness of his hair had saved him from bites that would have been fatal to others. Okay, up to this, I do want to tell you to read. You just go through the paragraphs and read. And remember, if you find any difficult words while reading, you have to underline that word and ask me the meaning, or go for the meaning in the vocabulary. Okay, there will be a glossary after it, and with which you can understand the meanings. See, vocabulary it's already given there. Propping means supporting. Ball means trunk. Vendor means seller. Grumbling, murmuring. Indoor, inside. Clump, in Malayalam it is written Maramutti. Gliding, moving. Aggressive, here also given the meaning in Malayalam, Akramanol Sugamaya. Okay, strong. And sax means bag. Fangs means poisonous teeth, Vishapalla. Defiance means challenge. Spine, backbone. Spectacled, mirror-like. Fatal means mortal, Abalkaramaya. Hood means patti. So, these are the vocabulary, and you have to go for the glossary if you find it very difficult to understand the meaning of the words which is there in the textbook. Okay, and read it, and I would like to ask you some questions after reading, and I'm going for the second reading. Hope all of you have completed your reading. Now I'm going for the second reading. Halfway up the tree I had built a small platform on which I would often spend the afternoons when it wasn't too hot. I could read there, propping myself up against the bole of the tree with cushions taken from the drawing room. Treasure Island, Huckleberry Finn, the Mowgli stories, and the novels of Edgar Rice Burroughs and Louis May Alcott made up my bag of very mixed reading. When I did not feel like reading, I could look down through the banyan leaves at the world below, at grandfather hanging up or taking down the washing, at the cook quarreling with a fruit vendor, or at grandfather grumbling at the hardy Indian marigolds which insisted on springing up all over his very English garden. Usually, nothing very exciting happened while I was in the banyan tree, but on one particular afternoon, I had enough excitement to last me through the summer. That was the time I saw a mongoose and a cobra fight to death in the garden, while I sat directly above them in the banyan tree. It was an April afternoon, and the warm breezes of approaching summer had sent everyone, including grandfather, indoors. I was feeling drowsy myself and was wondering if I should go to the pond behind the house for a swim, when I saw a huge black cobra gliding out of a clump of cactus and making for some cooler part of the garden. At the same time, a mongoose, whom I had often seen, emerged from the bushes and went straight for the cobra. In a clearing beneath the tree, in bright sunshine, they came face to face. Cobra knew only too well that the grey mongoose, 3 feet long, was a superb fighter, clever and aggressive. But the cobra was skillful and experienced fighter too. He could move swiftly and strike with the speed of light, and the sacs behind his long sharp fangs were full of deadly venom. It was to be a battle of champions. Hissing defiance, his forked tongue darting in and out, the cobra raised 3 of his 6 feet off the ground and spread his broad spectacled hood. The mongoose bushed his tail. The long hair on his spine stood up in the pass, the very thickness of his hair, and he had saved him from bites that would have been fatal to the others. Now, let me ask you some questions. Before going to the home assignment, let me ask you some questions. It is not a question based on the textbook, but it's a general question. Have you ever seen a fight between a mongoose and a cobra? Okay, who will win? Usually, who will win in that fight? Definitely, it is mongoose. Okay, so have you ever seen that? I don't know whether you have seen that. It's an exciting, means a wonderful experience. So here, the boy accidentally, he could see a fight between a mongoose and a cobra. And it was a deadly fight. What do you mean by that? Deadly. These are two combatants, two enemies, mongoose and a cobra. And here, this is a deadly fight, means an enemy will die at the end of the fight. An enemy will die at the end of the fight. So it is known as a deadly fight. Now this boy, he usually sat on the banyan tree. And what were his readings on the banyan tree? What were his readings? He read many stories. And here in the first paragraph, it's a question based on the first paragraph. Treasure Island, Huckleberry Finn, Mowgli stories, the novels of Edgar Rice Burroughs, Louis May Alcott, and these were his mixed reading. He usually read these stories from the banyan tree. And what could he see? After his reading, he usually watches the beautiful world outside. What are the things he could see from the banyan tree? He could see grandma hanging up the washed clothes and taking down. And grandfather mumbling with the marigold, Indian marigold. And also the cook who quarrels with the fruit vendor. These were the usual scenes which the boy could see from the banyan tree. Okay. And in that spring, I told you it was an April afternoon. It was a spring season. And he could see an ever memorable incident. In that afternoon, he could see an ever memorable incident. What was that incident? It was a fight between a mongoose and a cobra. So it was an ever memorable incident in the life of the boy. It was there in his mind forever. He could not forget it. So such a strong fight between a mongoose and a cobra. What kind of a mongoose was it? It was a grey colored mongoose. Okay, 3 feet long. And he was strong and aggressive fighter. And cobra was comparatively not bad. It was not comparatively bad to the mongoose. It was also a strong fighter, a tough fighter. It could move swiftly. He could move swiftly and strike with the speed of light. Such a cobra was it. And then the boy said it was a battle of champions. And it was a battle of champions. So why the boy said that it was a battle of champions? Both were champions. They were so strong and aggressive. And so the fight was ever memorable. And in the last paragraph that you can see, the cobra has a spectacle hood, a strong spectacle hood. Hood, you know, hood. So you can see, while watching the cobra, you can see that hood, a broad hood. And finally, what happened here? But the mongoose, he was so clever. He was so clever and aggressive. And he swayed from one side to another in order to get away from the strike which is given by the snake. He swayed to and fro. And finally, the fight ends. I don't want to tell you what happened at the end. And in the coming class, I will tell you what happened to the cobra. And now, these are the questions I do want to give you. See, here you can see some questions. Please read the questions. I will ask you the questions to you. See, what were the boys reading on the tree? What could he see from the banyan tree? What was the exciting experience of the boy on the tree in that summer? Why were all the people living indoors at that time? Where did cobra appear and the mongoose? What kind of a mongoose was it? What are the specialities of the cobra? Why did he say that it was a battle of champions? Were the mongoose and cobra strong fighters? So in the last question, you have seen that last question. Were the mongoose and cobra a strong fighters? Definitely they were strong fighters. They were strong fighters. The mongoose was clever and aggressive, and the cobra was skillful and experienced. It was skillful and experienced. Strong fighters. See, what were the boys reading on the tree? He read a lot of novels and stories. Treasure Island, Huckleberry Finn, Mowgli stories, and the novels of Edgar Rice Burroughs, Louis May Alcott. All these were his mixed reading. What could he see from the banyan tree? He could see grandma hanging up and taking down the washed clothes, and the cook quarreled with the fruit vendor, and grandfather secretly talking to the marigolds. And these were the usual sights of the boy in the banyan tree. What was the exciting experience of the boy on the tree in that summer? It was the fight between a mongoose and a cobra. Why were all the people living indoors at that time? It was a spring season, you know. It was so cold, so hot. It was so hot. So all the people are living inside the house. And then where did cobra appear? This cobra appeared from gliding out of a clump of cactus, and the mongoose, it was coming out of a bush. What kind of a mongoose was it? It was clever and aggressive mongoose. What are the specialities of the cobra? It was skillful and experienced. Why did he say that? It was a battle of champions. It was a battle of champions because both were strong warriors, strong fighters. So it was a battle of champions. Okay, these are the questions that come in the paragraphs, and you have to make it very clear, and you have to write the answers of the supporting questions given in the right hand side of the textbook. Now I am going to stop. Before stopping, these are the work that home assignment. I do want to give you one home assignment. Suppose you accidentally watch a fight between mongoose and a cobra. Write a paragraph on the fight. Let me make it clear. Told you, accidentally you met the fight between a mongoose and a cobra. So write your experience about the fight. Okay, and told you, if you have any doubt, you can ask me straight, or the English teachers who are handling English in your classes. It is already revealed. Okay, now it is the time for winding up, and thank you. I'm stopping now. Okay, thank you.